Over the next few days, the weather is about to get extremely active, where we can see multiple severe storm systems with strong tornadoes, damaging winds, and hail on the table. The weather is about to get really active, so I'm been breaking down what you need to know about the severe weather potential, so let's get right into it. It is Monday, June 22nd, 2026, and you can see here we have a fairly large area to be watching for severe weather, all the way from the mid-Atlantic up into parts of the northern plains. The Storm Prediction Center has two slight risks of severe weather. One goes from parts of northern Mississippi all the way up into the mid-Atlantic. This other one goes from western Kansas all the way up to southeastern Montana. So we got two slight risks where we got some all hazards of severe weather possible. If we go ahead and switch over to the tornado risk for today, we do have three areas to be watching for potential tornadoes. Our main areas that we're watching is going to be down here in parts of the southern United States, out there in parts of the southeast, and then another area that we're watching also very close is going to be up here in the plains. Out here in the mid-Atlantic, we're not looking at anything too crazy. A brief spin-up tornado can't be ruled out, though, out there. We have a 15% wind risk going from northern Mississippi all the way up into the mid-Atlantic. That's going to be our main area that we're watching for some damaging winds today. But we cannot rule out some damaging winds within this 5% wind risk that goes around that area. So make sure you're strapped on unscrewed objects so they don't fly away and everything like that. And make sure you also protect your trampoline, because you don't want your trampoline to fly away. We also have a threat for large to very large hail today, especially out here in parts of the plains, where we got a 15% hail risk, marked with the hail conditional tends to group 1 risk, meaning that we could be seeing Hennig-size hail or potentially even more out there today, so be aware for that. I'm going to be seeing some, like quarter-size hail out here in the mid-Atlantic. I don't think it's going to be anything too crazy, but we'll watch that area. So make sure to park your car in the garage so that it does not get damaged by hail today, because we're going to be seeing very large hail, especially if you're out there in parts of the plains. Now, as we get into tomorrow on Tuesday, we have another severe weather potential out here in parts of the plains. As you can see here, you can see that there's a marginal risk going from parts of the southern plains all the way up into parts of Minnesota. And then you got the slight risk going from northern Oklahoma up into northeastern Colorado. Then there's a marginal risk out here in the mid-Atlantic for tomorrow. We will have a threat for a few tornadoes tomorrow, with the main concern being out here in northeastern Colorado. An isolated brief spin-up tornado cannot be ruled out there, so remain looking at EF0 to EF1 intensity. So we'll keep an eye on that. We're also going to have a damaging wind threat tomorrow. We cannot rule out damaging winds getting up to potentially 75 miles per hour or more. I wouldn't rule out an upgrade to an enhanced risk somewhere within this area, as we could be seeing a pretty decent MCS, which is mesoscale convective system, kind of like a line of storms pushed through there, producing a very big chance for some damaging winds. So I wouldn't rule out an upgrade there. Then out here in mid-Atlantic, we're mainly going to be looking at a chance for some damaging winds. If we go over to our hail risk, our main hail risk will be out here in parts of the plains out here. We cannot rule out large to very large hail getting up to Hennig-size hail or potentially more, but we also can't rule out some smaller hail compared to the Hennig outside of that area tomorrow. And then Wednesday, our severe weather potential will continue out here in parts of the plains. As you can see here, there is a pretty large area to be watching for severe weather on Wednesday. So this is going to be for Wednesday. As you can see here, I want to rule out some damaging winds, hail, and maybe even an isolated brief spin-up tornado. The main area we're watching is from northeastern New Mexico all the way up into eastern Colorado and southeastern Wyoming. Our severe weather potential will continue as we get into Thursday, actually, out here in parts of the plains. As you can see, there's a 15% any severe risk probability across western Nebraska, southwestern South Dakota, eastern Wyoming, and northeastern Colorado. I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on Thursday, as we do have potential for some severe weather. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to our future radar for today. As you can see here, we're just going to have some rain showers up here in parts of the northeast push through, and then down here in parts of the Ohio Valley. Except we're going to have some of these storms out here in northern Louisiana and parts of northern Mississippi. Those should start to strengthen. If we push up the future radar some more, you can see we're definitely going to get some of our storms out there in parts of the southeast. They're really going to start to get going, especially around 6 p.m. Eastern today. You can see the time at the bottom left of your screen. We're also going to get these storms start to going out here in the mid-Atlantic. Those storms will be producing a potential for damaging winds and hail, maybe even a tornado. We're also going to have these lines of storms pushed through out here in parts of the mid-Atlantic right here. These could be pretty significant, producing damaging winds, hail, and maybe even a tornado. Then as we get into the early morning hours of tomorrow, these storms will continue out here in parts of southern Mississippi, northeastern Louisiana. Could see a few gusty winds. And then out here across parts of the mid-Atlantic, we're mainly going to be looking at some rain showers, but maybe a few gusty winds out there, nothing too crazy. Then out here in the northeast, in the early morning hours of tomorrow, which is like around 3 a.m., could be seeing some rain out there. I wouldn't rule out a few gusty winds tomorrow, though. So that's kind of what to be expecting for today. Going over to CAPE out here, this stands for Convective Available Potential Energy. This is just basically all the storm fuel here. There's plenty of storm fuel out here to get our storms to fire. Get up to 2,000 to around 2,000 joules per kilogram, 2,000 to 1,000 joules per kilogram out there. So we got a decent amount of CAPE going up into these areas. So there is a decent amount of storm fuel, but you can see it's not that crazy, which is why we don't have that crazy severe weather potential today. But it's definitely plenty of storm fuel out here to get those storms going and for them to be severe. Over to our SRH, storm relative helicity here. It kind of shows a spin in the atmosphere. We're gonna have a decent amount of spin out there in parts of northern Alabama, kind of where we have that main tornado risk out there. So that's pretty much why we got that 5% tornado risk. Out here in the mid-Atlantic, we're also gonna have a few storms out here. Not a crazy amount of spin, but we could definitely get one of those storms to kind of spin up a little bit, but I really don't think it's going to be too crazy out there, but we'll watch it. Here in parts of the plains, you can see storms will start to get going around 5 p.m. Eastern today out here, producing damaging winds, hail. And then if we push it up some more, they'll continue moving east around 8 p.m. Eastern, producing some large hail and some damaging winds, maybe a isolated tornado or two. So we'll watch that very closely. We're not really looking at a significant tornado threat today. We're mainly looking at maybe a few brief and weak tornadoes. Our main area to be watching for those brief and weak tornadoes out here in parts of the plains today will be right within this area, this circled area today. So we're definitely going to have to watch that area very closely for a few tornadoes today. We don't have like an insane amount of CAPE out here today either, but you can see all that CAPE that's coming up into the plains for today. So we're going to have to keep a very close eye on that. Now, as we get into tomorrow, on Tuesday, you can see we're going to have a pretty significant storms kind of push through. We're going to have some of these rain showers out here in parts of the plains push through. These could produce a few severe winds, especially out here in parts of the southeastern Nebraska and northeastern Kansas. We're going to have to watch some of those storms as they push through there. And this could become a very significant line of storms, which I think this could get upgraded to a enhanced risk of severe weather out here in parts of southeastern Kansas, as a very significant line of storms could develop, producing a potential for very strong winds as it pushes through those areas. Then we'll kind of move. Then those line of storms will kind of push into northern Oklahoma tomorrow. The timing's at the bottom left of the screen, so you guys can check that out there. And then those will be producing very strong winds out there. Tomorrow on Tuesday out there in those areas. So definitely be aware for a very significant line of storms. I'm really concerned about this, especially if you live in the Salina, Topeka, Wichita, and Tulsa area, even down there towards Oklahoma City and Fayetteville, Springfield, Missouri. You guys all got to be watching this very closely, as this could be a relatively significant severe weather threat. Now, our tornado risk tomorrow is going to be pretty low, but if we get like one of those storms out here in parts of northern Oklahoma and southern Kansas to really get going, I think we can't rule out a tornado, and I wouldn't even rule out a strong tornado. It's just not the best type of storm to produce a tornado, though. But the main concern is going to be out there in parts of northeastern Colorado tomorrow, where we could see a brief spin-up tornado. And then I'm also really watching Wednesday very closely for severe weather out here. You can see we're going to have some storms potentially start to develop out there. This is going to be the 24th. We could be seeing a pretty big damaging wind chance. So we're going to have to watch that very closely. Our main threat is going to be out there from like northeastern New Mexico all the way up there into southeastern Wyoming. This is going to be our main threat place out there on Wednesday, so we're going to have to watch that very closely. You want to rule out them expanding that a little bit farther east, as we could be seeing a pretty widespread damaging wind event on Wednesday. Then we're also going to have some of those storms out there on Thursday pop up out there. We've got to be watching for a damaging wind potential, and maybe a few tornadoes. This is kind of just to give you a look at it. It's probably not going to look exactly like this. This is the Rufus model, which is not the most accurate in my opinion. But you can see just within this general areas where we're going to be watching for those main areas of thunderstorms as we get into Thursday. Alright, so I do want to talk about some of the excessive rainfall that we could be seeing over the next few days. So we do have a big flooding threat for today, as we're going to have training storms out there today, producing a big flooding threat in parts of northern Arkansas and southwestern Tennessee. If you're out there today, you need to be staying prepared for a big flood threat, as the Weather Prediction Center has issued a moderate risk of excessive rainfall. We also do have a potential for excessive rainfall in that yellow slight risk and then in that green marginal risk. Out there in parts of North Dakota and northeastern Montana, we also can't rule out some flooding up there, so we're also going to have to watch that. The flooding is likely going to continue as we get into tomorrow on Tuesday, mainly out there in parts of the southern plains, where we're going to have some storms pierce through, bringing a lot of rainfall, leading to potential flooding, then out there in parts of the mid-Atlantic as well. And if you're driving your car out there and you see a flooded road, do not drive through it. Turn around, don't drown when encountering flooded roadways, as it is very dangerous if you go through flooded roadways in your vehicle, and that's going to be a big threat over the next few days. Now let's go ahead and push up the future radar, as our severe weather is about to get very active. We're going to be watching the plains very closely out there in the parts of the Midwest as we get into late June for a lot of severe weather to potentially be happening. So if you're in that circled area, even if you're a little bit out of that area, you need to be prepared for potential severe weather as we get into late June, as that's going to become a very big concern. Early July, we're going to have to be watching for some of those damaging wind potentials out there in parts of the Midwest and even out there in the plains. One thing I'm watching very closely is going to be a strong storm system that could come out into the United States. That could be a very strong trough that pushes through, and this could bring a relatively strong severe weather threat out there in parts of the plains. Pretty crazy amounts of storm fuel in these areas, but keep in mind you need those storms in June to really get those storms going. You need the storms in the Cape, and usually June has a lot of storm fuel, but the storms have to be there to kind of eat up that storm fuel. So you can see that we're going to have plenty of storm fuel out here in late June. And we got to be watching for multiple severe weather setups, with some of them being potentially significant. And that's pretty much all I got for you in today's video. Consider liking and subscribing, as that helps this channel a lot grow and everything like that. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you're staying weather aware and have a way to get alerts over the next few days. And stay tuned, as I will be keeping you guys updated on the severe weather. Have a wonderful day.